For anything in life, I do not like to consider myself as one, but if I may, I would like to introduce myself as an expert. An expert of quitting. I know perfectly how to take the back door to escape from something that I just started. I knew how to quit when I started journaling. I would grab my notebook on day one, write somehow 2 pages of it, and close it. I would grab it again on day two, write way less words on it, and close it again. Put it away and never touch it again. I also knew how to quit when I was going to the gym. After a couple of weeks of training, waking up at 6 am, I started to sleep in for one day. I also started to find excuses on the day after, and I ended up cutting off my gym subscription a couple of weeks later. Entering your 20s is known to be the best period of your life. It is this time where you graduate from high school, this time where you basically start to be on your own. Your early 20s means plenty of things. For me, the main one has been the change of life. Coming from a fully supported and protected life in high school where I would basically not have to think about anything to a university student life where I basically have to think about everything. Making food, cleaning my apartment, and studying on my own, as well as plenty other things. Your early 20s is also this time where you start to grow and learn more from yourself. And for me, it was this time where I was starting to have projects, my YouTube channel, my self-improvement journey, and of course I started to face the hard side of life when you want to step out of the box. Quitting was part of my life, and as a consequence of that really bad habit is the lowest self-confidence that you could ever have, and of course the lack of results. As I was quitting every single thing that I was doing, I was obviously not seeing any progress in my life. I didn't get any pound of muscle from my couple of days of training. I didn't reach any mental clarity from my 2 intensive days of journaling. Now, it was actually 10 minutes per day, and not even on the second one, but this is how it felt, intense. For all of the habits that I was trying to integrate to my life or projects that I was trying to start, I would always have this same feeling. This overwhelming feeling that something was impossible to reach, or this feeling that whatever I was trying to start in my life, whether it was to write down some thoughts every single day or to get some pull-ups in, the process was way too much for me and that I couldn't see the bigger picture. The one and only habit or skill that you need to learn in your 20s in order to be able to create dozens and dozens of different habits in your life is to learn how to trust the process. I learned through the couple of failures that I went through that the cause of this failure wasn't because I was terrible at it. Well, it probably was when it comes to running, but for the rest, the cause was simply the lack of consistency. Quitting too early because I would not picture why I was doing this. Getting a habit stick to your life isn't a one-day process, and as every great things, it takes time. It is through an action that you take on one day that you repeat the day after, that the habit will be created if this same thing is repeated over the course of the next couple of months or even years. Yes, years. It takes that long. Beginning of 2022, I finally took actions on my sayings that this year will be the year where I would start changing. I decided to start off with some 30 days experiments. In one single night, I took the decision to cut off all the sources of dopamine in my life. Knowing that I was under a lot of stress from my finals, I realized after one day that this wasn't the best decision of my life. It was probably one of the worst. Again, I faced failure. But instead of quitting, I decided to start smaller and I chose not to get rid of all the sources of dopamine in my life, but to start from the main one, quitting social media. From the social media detox that I did, I've experienced a lot of positive consequences, and among those were the direct and indirect ones. And if you want to know more about the direct ones, well, I would invite you to go watch that video, but please come back to this one after. And for the indirect ones, I learned the key to changing life. It is to dream big, start small, while trusting that the small steps will slowly but surely build the bigger picture. Instead of tackling this big cake, which was the full-on dopamine detox, I started with a slice of it, which was social media. And then I moved on to the next one, which you will probably know about whenever I decide to start shooting this video. I've used the lessons that I've learned through these examples and applied them to the new habits that I was trying to build for my life. And the first one that comes to my mind is obviously making YouTube videos. As soon as I started to make these videos, I started to face the reality of YouTube. An enormous amount of time scripting, shooting and editing videos and projects to end up with basically no views. Now, it is true that I thought about quitting a couple of times, but my dreams are too big and I was surely not ready to give up on this one. And since I slowly but surely learned how to become relentless, each failure, each video that did not do good was a life lesson for me. And here are a couple of them that I learned along the way. Number one, I started not to care about the results. If my video was getting a couple of hundred of views or if my video was a total flop, it mattered the same to me. Instead, I started focusing on the system. I created a system that works for me, that allows me to upload one video per week or once every 2 weeks depending on my university schedule. By focusing on creating my own workflow, I managed to start becoming consistent because I knew where I had to start each time and what steps I had to follow. This was only relying on my trust of this process to bring me where I wanted to be. Number two, trust your initial thoughts. Starting university was a clear step for me to become closer to my dream of becoming a vet, and there was basically no friction at this time. Whenever I started to go deeper and deeper into my studies, I started to study boring subjects, which I do not consider as part of the vet medicine field, and I still have to go through them today. The difference is that I learned how to trust the process. I learned that regardless of how boring, hard, or irrelevant things might be, I started this thing for a reason, which is why I should trust the system of going through tough times in order to achieve a goal. And basically the same goes on for YouTube and everything in life. Making YouTube videos is a messy journey. For me, at least, I am never sure about the outcome of the video. It is always a lot of shots and a lot of stutter. It is always a lot of shots and a lot of stutter. It is always a lot of shots and a lot of stutter. But I always manage to make a somehow great video that you guys seems to find aesthetic and pleasing to watch. Which is the reason why I keep on trusting this process. And the same goes on for the bigger picture, growing my channel. When you put a lot of work into the videos, each week coming up with new ideas, filming, editing, and color grading the videos to end up with a few couple of views can make the vision of this bigger picture hard. But when you acknowledge that you have to go through this and to trust the system of sharing one video a week in order to become a real YouTuber, then you start to see results. By the way, that's what I've seen last week. So thank you very much. Now, I am not saying that because I created the system, everything became easy. Not at all. It still is quite hard and a lot of work for me, especially when I have to deal at the same time with exams and essays. But what I want to say is that it made the whole trusting the process thing way easier and less costful. And whenever something is easier and less costful, we tend to do it more often. And when we tend to do something more often, then it gets easier and less costful. And well, you know how it goes. Whatever you are doing in your life, whatever project you started, it might seem not doable and messy and hard, but believe me, acknowledging that trusting the process is key to your success is the most important thing that you can learn in your early 20s. And at least it was for me. Anyways, if you still are here, thank you so much for watching, and I'll meet you in the next one. Bye-bye.